Good morning, everyone. Let's stop this screen share. Wow, that was sticky bum time. Squeaky bum time? Yeah, not sticky bum time. That's even worse. Bloomin' heck. First thing in the morning, Chrissa. God, that just put my
Morning.
crisis brain to the test then. It logged me out of everything. So normally it's like a nice little smooth transition through the system. No, it's like, no, we don't know who you are. Prove who you are. Are you kidding me?
Do you know what though, Chrissa? We feel really validated because we find it really hard to do like the live stream via Zoom. So at least it's not just us.
Oh, it's stupid. They want you to use these systems, but they don't make it easy. Anyway, this is about calmness and well-being, and there's me like, "Wah!" Right.
But sometimes
Usual
that's
stuff.
a valid strategy.
Yeah. Just look, scream into a pillow. Let me just get a pillow. I just want to have a little scream.
That is a good strategy. Get it out your
Yeah,
system.
it's got to go somewhere.
It
Gotta
has.
go
Hear
somewhere.
that?
So, good morning, everyone. I can see everybody saying hello, and I've ignored you all. I will come and have a little word with everybody in a moment. So, do let me know where you're watching from this morning. If you can hear us and see us, it would be very much appreciated to know that it's all working after our squeaky bum time. Anyway, we're live this morning. I'm Chrissa from Sunshine Support, and I've got the wonderful women, wonderful friends of mine from Bridge the Gap, Jen and Nikki. Morning, ladies. Are you all right?
Morning. You'll make me cry already.
Oh,
Let's do it. I've got
emotional
the tissues
time.
ready. I knew. I
That's
knew.
what I mean. It's nice to say friend. And I'm like,
I
oh my
know.
gosh.
Oh, you are. You
Oh,
are.
you are a good friend,
Yeah,
and
you're
we've been
lovely.
through this together.
Yeah. We're the same age. Well, in terms of the business. Well, we're probably about the same age. I think actually Nikki's a bit younger than us,
Yeah,
Jen.
she's
Yeah,
young.
yeah. Don't put that on you. I'm joking.
There you go.
She's not joking.
Yeah, so I'm Nikki. This is Jennifer, just so that you know which way round we are. And we are directors at Bridge the Gap, we're children's mental health service in Derby. So we've worked with you for some time, haven't we?
Oh God, ages. Ages. I love the way you've introduced yourselves because it reminded me of like Ant and Dec.
Yes.
Oh, don't. That's what we have been classified under that remit. And I would just like to say, I am Dec. Yes. We've had this conversation, your aunt.
Bring in the comedy.
Yeah, always.
And the light relief.
Because it's heavy topics that we end up talking about. You have to bring some light relief to that. Take the intensity and the sting out of it all. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're the same, and I think you hear all the stories and you desperately feel them and you're trying not to feel them because that also takes its toll on you, which we'll talk a little bit about today, actually, in terms of other people sort of absorbing that from their children, from those around them. But just to introduce ourselves, obviously, you know who we all are now, but we're going to be talking about how we keep ourselves well emotionally and mentally over the summer because let's call it what it is here. It's a very difficult time. I have prioritized over the last few summers that real deep connection time, but I know coming with that is screaming and shouting from one another. Not me. I'm chilled out, obviously, but the kids, obviously, not me. And a few years ago, we did one of these with a trauma psychotherapist who's Irish, and she's so gentle, and I was like almost falling asleep as she was talking, and next minute Remy, one of my twins, comes bursting in. You should have seen what she's just done, and she came in with broken glasses, and I'm like,
Bringing a touch of reality to the situation.
100%, and I'm like, I'm now on display in how I'm gonna like react to this. But I think that so many people, when they meet us, you get the same sort of reception as me, where they go, "Oh, you know what you're doing. Don't judge me for what I'm about to do." I'm not judging anyone. We're all just trying to survive.
Absolutely that. Yeah.
100%.
And you feel it even with friends sometimes, and they will hold back from fully sharing. I'm just like, can I just say, I'm not here to judge anything or anyone.
We've done it all between us all.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. This is not, we're all human.
Yeah.
We're all going to react in this way. And even yesterday, we were delivering some training, and we talk about that Sarah Ockwell-Smith, that 70-30 rule that I really like. You know, 70% of the day, if you can look back and think, I'm quite pleased with that, you need to let that other 30% go, and you need to be kind to yourself. And actually, a lot of the time in that 30%, there's a little bit of reflection, a little bit of learning, an opportunity to repair and model some of that for you young people. But yeah, you're human.
Yeah, absolutely. I think reflection is key. We were saying that, weren't we, just before we came on, about sort of having the power to look back and go, oh, I could have done that better. Okay, tomorrow's a new day. You know,
Exactly that. It resets at midnight. We can start the clock again, and that's really empowering. I think it's an important one of the first things I wanted to share is it's okay to dread the summer coming. Like, it is absolutely normal.
yeah,
Because for a lot of us, me included, you know, I've got 3 children of various different ages.
yeah.
That's a lot when they're all at home together. And navigating childcare, don't get me started on navigating childcare, Chrissa. It's carnage.
Expensive. I put the girls into a really lovely, like, out of school club a few years ago, and they looked at EHCPs and they were really good, and the girls loved it. But £150 a day for all 3 of them, I'm sorry, but it's not worth
A
working.
lot of money.
So we are thrust in this sort of together that we all want, but we're a bit apprehensive about and we're a bit anxious about. And we know that anxiety is contagious. If we're feeling it, our kids are feeling it. So it's about, yeah, we've got lots to talk about this morning. So I'm just going to come to the comments and say hello to everyone because I can see there's loads there. We got lots of our sunshine lot. Emma, good morning, Emma. Morning, Jess. Morning, the other Jess. We have got
Morning, guys.
50,000 Jesses. We've got so many Jesses at Sunshine.
Really?
It's 3.
A
There's
great
3.
name, I have to say.
It's a good name. It's a good name. Strong name. Morning, Leanne. Morning, Karina. Morning, Freya. Morning, Karen. Let me know where you're watching from, by the way. Jess said she's in Seaford near Brighton, which I already knew. That's one of our Jesses. And the other Jess is watching from the Sunshine Hub in Derby. Soon to be moving, everybody, hopefully.
Yeah, exciting times.
This week, hopefully. Leanne's watching from Eastleigh. I've actually done a day of send in Eastleigh in Hampshire. Really enjoyed that. They're a great lot. There's a lot of send in Hampshire, but you've got some bloody brilliant schools down there as well. Sorry, I shouldn't have sworn.
All of us moving to Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, one of my daughters did go to school in Hampshire for that reason, even though we're in Derbyshire. They are really, really good. Lee's watching from Nottinghamshire. Claire's in Cornwall. Well,
Oh,
Jen.
nice.
Love Cornwall.
Very jealous.
Very jealous. Very
We're
jealous.
here in Derby City. I'm very jealous of Cornwall.
Or Hampshire.
Or Hampshire, yeah. I'll take
Any of them really. Joe's watching from Northampton. Sorry, Joe, I'm not as jealous of Northampton as I am Cornwall or the South Coast.
Not the coast, is there, you know?
Yeah. If you've got a beach, I'm jealous, you know? That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. And actually, I was going to say, like, I struggle a lot with the heat if I have to do stuff. So if I'm at work, like this week, absolute nightmare. Last week, absolute nightmare. I feel very blessed that the people who lived in my house before owned an aircon company and have kitted the entire house out. So I have one here, which is keeping me nice.
Amazing.
So I'm going to brag about that. I'm really
I
pleased.
mean, the nights.
I
The
struggle with
nights.
the heat. I'm not, we were just saying before we were coming on and turned our camera on, we were just saying how, you know, my poor husband put his hand on my thigh last night and I was just like, remove your hand from my body immediately. I just can't tolerate it. I'm so hot. Even now, I said to Nikki, I'm like, this is very close. I'm very hot.
A lot of heat's generated here.
Yeah. And I'm at that age where, you know, your thermostat's not perhaps quite what it was. So it just makes it a little bit uncomfortable. And then that makes it harder to, like you were saying, focus, but managing your emotions, the change, the transition, the navigating the childcare, all of that makes it even more difficult, doesn't it?
So hard. I need to be near a freezing cold pool with a cocktail or mocktail, and then no work.
Yeah. Oh, I love
That'd
the
be
heat then,
excellent.
Chrissa.
Yeah.
Under an umbrella with a big floppy hat, cocktail in hand, dip in the pool, sea breeze. Oh, yes, please.
And you
Everybody
think
getting
about a
along.
classroom. Oh my goodness, a classroom.
Right now.
When you think about the heat that the kids have had to endure and then be able to focus on work.
And wear a blazer
And wear
in some cases.
oh my goodness,
Don't get
wear
me
a
started on
uniform.
uniforms. But...
Well, I was talking about you guys last week because we're working with a school that you're working with, and I won't name the name, but we love them, and I'm sure you do too, because they're constantly pushing your stuff out to the parents, to the kids. You're going back there soon, I think, to do some work with the kids. And what I love about that school is that their uniform policy is really relaxed. So they're like, oh, it's summer. We trust you to just dress appropriately. If that's just a white shirt, it's just a white shirt. No tie, no blazer, no jumper, because you're humans. Like, what is the point? No job is going to make you wear a blazer. And then they're like, and you're put whatever you want on your legs. Yeah, shorts, great. Skirts, great, whatever. Just be appropriate, but don't put yourself at risk by overheating. And don't wait for us to constantly send in text, saying you don't have to wear your blazer today. You do have to wear it today. And I just love that because that's a barrier. It's a barrier to everything, as we know. And I just
easy barrier to remove.
yeah, it's so easy and cheap and free.
Yeah.
Like, it's just ridiculous how easy these things are. Somebody's just popped in the comments, the staff should be made to wear the same uniform. And this is the thing, the staff don't even agree with it. I don't even know where these things come from.
No.
I mean, in what world do we have 2,000 children all together in a building when 2,000 adults do not work together in a building? I mean, we're getting on a soapbox now about schools, but that's an easy barrier to remove. Make it smaller, make it just wear your PE kit.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I love the PE kits. They look really smart. I was really fortunate for my children that they went to a school where it was just literally a polo shirt, even at secondary, polo shirt, sweater, trousers. They were quite relaxed. They had no blazer or anything, which for my youngest, thank goodness that was in place, because we struggled over the years with the old uniform. So it makes such a difference, because that was never a barrier for her getting there.
No. And I think that's what we've got to think about doing the summer as well, is those barriers that we've put in place, whether they're traditions, maybe they're societal things that we see on social media. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, because it's the work of the devil in some cases. And I know you guys have done loads of work on that. But I think so many families are just in survival mode, particularly when they've got children with SEND, because for some it works really well because they're struggling with school anyway, so it's bliss. But then for others, the lack of routine can really throw them off. So I thought what we'll do today is talk about some sort of moments of well-being that feel achievable. So I've got a question for everybody watching, actually, and perhaps we can answer as well. Like, how are you feeling about the summer holidays? Can you even summarize it in one word? Do put it in the comments and we'll come to them in a second. But what are you ladies thinking? What are you feeling?
For me, it's a bit different perhaps because my children are grown up now. So, my daughter turns 18 in a couple of weeks and my eldest is 24, both spicy and brilliant. So for me, I think I have different concerns about the summer rather than relating to those young people. But saying that, my youngest still needs me. I mean, we were talking about last night even, she needed me to co-regulate with her in that moment. And you're navigating that at a time where you've still got to work and have a lot of responsibility. And I think self-care and that the phrase, self-care, for me, it's not easy. So I think I get more nervous going into that space. And I think, if I'm honest, a little bit of resentment can creep in for the people that aren't working throughout that time. And just being really honest. And it's because my needs aren't being met. So that's where resentment comes from. If your needs are being met, you don't feel resentful of someone else having their needs met, do you? So yeah, I think I'm nervous. but I'm facing it from a slightly different angle than having really young kids and navigating childcare and things like that, whereas you are in the thick of it.
Yeah, so my older two are 10 and 12. One's about to go up year 6 to year 7. My eldest went up last year, so she'll be going into year 8, and then decided to have another baby.
To add to the chaos.
Add to the chaos. So he'll be 1 in August. So he's a summer baby. And yeah, absolutely that, like I said at the start, just juggling childcare and navigating, because they're so different ages as well. I've got one going to one place. So on some occasions, I've got all 3 in different locations, and we've got a whole spreadsheet printed off on the wall at home to just know where they all are at any one time. So that side of it's a headache. But also with my eldest, we're very much in, how do I word this nicely?
Teenage
hormone overwhelm. And that is hard. That's really hard at times.
I think that's quite triggering.
Yeah.
For us, because we've got our own experiences of growing up. And I mean, I'm thinking back to when it was with my daughter, that actually you see some of those responses and it triggers something in you that is visceral. It's not a cognitive thought. You're not thinking, oh, that reminds me of. It's just an instant reaction in us. And I think when they're around you more throughout the summer holidays, you see them more, don't you? So you see the whole thing. So you're constantly trying to manage your triggers to their experiences or their emotions and what they're bringing to the table.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you've got that sort of the trigger, and then the instant when you've done the sort of work that you guys have and that I have, you have the instant, what would I have needed in that moment? What would I have needed in that moment? And then you're like, can I provide it? Do I feel like I'm regulated enough in this moment? And quite often what I do, and it works really well for us, is that I say, what you've just said to me has really triggered me. Can I have a moment so I can just work out what's going on for me? And then I'll come back to you, and I'm more than happy to share what it is. And I find, like, my 13-year-old, and she's very loud in her emotions. I mean, you guys, I know you know her very well.
She's amazing.
And I love how loud she is in her emotions. And she lets people know. And she's like, I'm not okay today. And I know that's okay, but I'm not okay. I'm feeling out of sorts. And it can be irritating for people, but I won't let her feel shame or feel squashed down for that. But one of the things I do is that I'm also loud, not loud, but I'm very vocal about my emotions. And I think, you know, depending on your family structure and how sort of far into your emotional literacy journey you are as a family, it can be quite useful to share that and say, guys, I've said it to my kids, guys, you've got me today. You have really overwhelmed me today. And I'm trying to not let your behavior make me react. And I'm trying not to have a response, but I'm also human. Can we just give me like an hour to kind of catch my breath? It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. And they always seem to be quite, I don't know. Well, my lot are quite empathetic anyway, because they've grown up with this stuff. But I think it's quite nice, even if in reflection, they then come back to me and go, do you know what, Mum, I'm really sorry we sent you into a spin there. Shall we do something together? It's quite interesting, the language they use. Shall we do something together to try and like come together again and connect? And I think it's just giving yourself just permanent forgiveness.
You create an emotional permission.
Absolutely.
You're modeling that for them, and you're not making them responsible for your emotions and feelings. You're just speaking facts.
Exactly.
And it's okay to take that moment. One of the things I always say is, and you're going into that space, one, you've got time, like take a minute. Children process things at a much slower rate than we do. But you can always just take a step back and think, am I leading this moment with my emotions, or am I going to approach it in a way that I can respond to theirs? So am I going to react, like you say, or am I going to just hope and respond? So, and that takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. And there will still be times where you react because you're human.
That's it. it's okay to step away, and that's the biggest thing I've given myself permission to do, I think, because I can literally feel myself getting het up sometimes in those responses. And to all of the guilt, all of the parent guilt, we can all relate. Whoever's listening can relate to the parent guilt. It is huge, isn't it? And give yourself permission to step away. It's okay. And that actually, like you've just said so eloquently, Chrissa, you're modeling that for your children. You're modeling that actually it's okay for them to step away if ever they get overwhelmed with difficult emotions or feeling angry and they're about to snap at somebody. Oh, do you know what mum does? She steps away when that happens. Takes a breath, comes back in.
And one of the other things that I've sort of learned over time, and again, it's just doing webinars, understanding trauma, understanding our physical responses to whatever's going on for us at that moment, is really stopping to think about the physical responses. So I've noticed this week, one of my girls, Remy, she's going up to the senior school as well in September. And she said to me, I don't feel myself. And I said, okay, let's have a think about that. Like, what is it? Let's go through every part of your body. And she said, it's my legs. We sort of ended up chatting about it. She said, it's my legs. My legs are wobbly. I don't know why. I said, okay, let's think about what you've got going on. What's happened? What's coming up? It's anxiety, but I'm trying to get her to bring that out to me. And we've had this now for the last week about how interesting it's been that every day she's been coming and coming to me and thinking about those physical responses. And I think, again, understanding in yourself so that you can relate to your child, because like having that relationship where you're relating to your child and saying, I've had this feeling before, and for me, it felt like this. And then this happened. How's your heart feeling? Is that beating quite fast? And then you're bringing out those pieces of language, but it's really important stuff. This isn't just airy fairy stuff. This is how our children report difficult times later in life. Because I always think like there's a huge focus on language, on body parts, right? So we know that in sex education, they're telling children what the actual body parts are called, so that if anything ever happens to them for a safeguarding reason, they're able to call out, this happened to me in that area. Or if they go to the doctor, they can say, they're not using baby words. They're saying, on this particular part of my body, I have an issue. But yet with emotions, typically, people out there outside of our bubble don't seem to place the same importance on naming the emotions, which is vital for parents and children, isn't it?
Because sorry, Jen, because we weren't taught it. No, none of us had that. I saw a post the other day and it made me giggle. What we were taught in school to play the recorder. There was a picture of this recorder. What we should have been taught in school: financial literacy, emotional literacy, all of this whole list. And instead we were taught this rubbish. It just made me giggle. But that's why, because none of us as adults had an emotional education. So all of us walking around, it's taking us time to invest and learn about our own emotional health and where those physical feelings are in our body, so that we can then model it to our children.
And it changes your life. Just on that, what you were saying, Chrissa, about the language, it's a really good tip for people watching is to think about curious language. So like you did with Remy there, so using like, I wonder if, that's interesting. I've noticed that your shoulders look like they're quite hunched up. I wonder if you're experiencing some feelings in your body that we could explore together. So those lovely curious statements that keep the door open, and then implement them for yourself. When you're in that moment thinking, I wonder if I'm feeling worried about my child's emotion in this moment, and I wonder if stepping outside and taking 10 seconds might be beneficial to me. It feels unnatural to have that narrative going, but it really has helped me. I've coached myself through that to that point that makes it all feel much more natural, much more comfortable, and it helps me and it helps them.
Yeah, and also you're not putting the onus on other people, because I think that's another thing that our generation was very much, well, it felt like we were taught it, that if we're feeling a certain way, I know that what my instant response was pre-therapy was, well, somebody's made me feel like that. And it's
Blame,
anger.
because
Yeah.
it's the discharge of discomfort, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is too much, I don't like it, so I'll deal with it.
Absolutely. And whilst there's power in togetherness, sometimes that's not always possible. So being able to have those conversations with yourself is so important, because then we're not relying on others. And I think that's another thing that we need to be teaching our children. And I know there's a big sort of divide in the word resilience. Now, I love the word resilience because I think that we all need it. We need it for our health, we need it for our emotions, because without resilience, we don't have self-esteem. Without resilience, we have no confidence. We can't leave the house. So resilience is key, but how we get the resilience is a journey. And I don't think they can't be battered into someone.
No, and it's how it's like the word brave. It's just had a negative connotation put on it. It's how, for us, we use the term authentic resilience. So you've got resilience is what people think resilience is, and then for us, it's that authentic resilience, which is I'm not afraid to feel. I'm not going to let it stop me from doing the things I want to do. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to move through it, and then I'm going to be able to get back up again. I was made to feel as a child completely unresilient because I struggled to attend school, because I had mental health struggles. And I look back now as an adult at what I experienced, and I acknowledge for myself, I am very resilient, but it didn't look like what they wanted it to look like.
No, that's and actually probably what you were filled with as a result of that was shame.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to then catch that all the time. So it's not something that just disappears because you've suddenly, reached, middle age or anything. It's still there, and it's challenging that. And though, attention seeking behaviors, that was another thing that I got labeled with. And that stays with you to the point that I need compression gloves for my hands sometimes. And when we were delivering training and I was in a lot of pain, and I wouldn't put my gloves on because in my head, they're going to think I'm attention seeking.
Yeah, or weak.
Yeah, or weak. Can't just manage it. So yeah, it's
not competent.
But understanding, your story and your experiences is so powerful, because it helps you to understand what you're bringing into that space as a parent as well. And what, in terms of self-care that we're talking about, that's going to look different for everybody. And I think for me, what I know I need for my self-care comes back to my personal journey and experiences and what would trigger me and all of those different nuances, really.
Absolutely.
We were taught, weren't we, again, going back to kind of our generation, like you were saying, we were taught that resilience was to stop feeling and to bottle it all up and to suppress it. Now, when it comes to the summer holidays, it's incredibly difficult, but one of the biggest things and biggest piece of advice is letting your children feel it. Letting them feel it, letting them fully empty it out, because sitting with it and making space for that emotion is how we build authentic resilience. Actually, we've sat through feeling anxiety, we've sat through feeling really quite cross, and we've come through the other side of it. And letting them fully empty that out allows them not to be halfway up the volcano for the next occasion when it's going to take something really little to flip their lid.
Absolutely. One of the other twin, Ridley, she did something recently. I can't think what it was now. And I found out it wasn't a good thing. And I said, what happened there then? And she just was like, nope, not answering. I said, okay, how are you feeling? I said, how are you feeling? Can you say it? Not very happy. I said, okay. Do you want to sit with that for a little while? Do you want me to sit with you? No. I said, okay. You sit with that for a little while. I said, I think it's really important you feel that. I said, because otherwise you can't learn from it. And Marnie said, are you sending her into shame? No.
Go on, Marnie.
I said, I'm allowing her to feel guilt, and that's okay, because that's how she's going to learn.
Yes.
Guilt is different to shame.
Yeah,
Guilt is a healthy emotion. We always say this when we talk about shame has no place around emotion. And people say, well, they need to be able to take accountability. I said, you can't take accountability if you feel ashamed.
Oh,
You think you are bad, you are the problem. Whereas when guilt is, which is there, you've given her space to feel it without adding anything to that, so that she can think, well, have I got something to feel sad about? I wonder what I can do about that. And then I can repair. But if you feel ashamed, you don't even want to go there, do you?
no, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll come to a few comments actually. On YouTube, Light Films, which is Tom, my husband, says sleeping in the temperature is impossible. So yes, he completely
Tom, I've got 2 fans, recommend them. One on a stool at the end of the bed, one on the floor tilted up. My husband's cold, and I'm just, this is blissful.
Yeah.
It's cold.
You know,
It's cold.
I filmed a podcast yesterday with Gabby, and she called it a personal summer as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, Gabby. Well,
Love it.
Oh, there's lots of conversation going on. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to go through all of this. Oh, hang on.
It's good though.
Okay, we'll come to some of these because I can see they're actually stuff that I've got planned in terms of what we're going to talk about. Now, we just talked there about permission to feel something. But what I've noticed is with parents, and I don't think that this is really different between parents or send parents, to be honest with you, parents or parents. I think that they struggle to give themselves permission to rest and enjoy. Do you find this? Like, what would you say to someone watching who feels like, oh, well, I can't, I know because I've been here and I'm not anymore, but I can't rest. I've got plenty to do. The kids are at home, therefore they need, 24,000 snacks a day. They need constant like cleaning up after, constant entertaining. I can't do it. And it does seem a little bit martyr-like sometimes. And I'm talking from experience with me, something I've managed to shed.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a parent who is struggling to put themselves first? Because it's important that we do that.
It's not just about you. It's not selfish. Like, that is helping your child, full stop. They drink from our pool. You know, if you are feeling out of control in terms of how to manage and navigate this space in summer, entertaining your children and everything that shows up for them, there will be elements of that, of their reactions that are out of your control. That is something you can take control of. And I think it's really hard for us because we've been conditioned to do it all. And it's like you said, that I've been on a massive journey with that, and my house has been an absolute bomb site for the last 2 weeks, and I've just had to say it's going to be like that, and I am going to sit on the sofa instead and just switch off, because that's what I need. It's prioritizing, isn't it? And but that used to cause me lots of anxiety, if I could see something needed doing. So it came down to understanding, well, why is that anxiety there? What do I think that means about me?
Because we're conditioned. We're conditioned, aren't we, to be productive all of the time. And if you think back to, the 1950s housewife era, we are now still expected as women, to do this and to hold that role, but on top of that, work a full-time job potentially, and also care for children with additional needs. And it's a lot. And I think that anxiety comes from that place through society about production. You've got to be on all the time. And same for me, I feel anxious when the house is a mess, and it is learning to sit with some of those difficult emotions, make space for them. And self-care for me sometimes is, I'm not going to do the washing up today.
And take one small thing. This is my biggest tip. It's too much when you look at it as a whole. How am I going to take this back for myself? How am I going to gather some time? Choose one thing, just one thing you're not going to do today. And it could be, I'm not going to cook this amazing dinner tonight. I'm going to give them fish fingers, chips and beans. And that's going to give me half an hour that I don't have to think about someone else. Like, take one small thing.
Absolutely. And, you know, never underestimate the power of a picky tea.
I
mean,
I
yeah.
love a picky tea.
yeah, good old British tapas, whatever you've got in the freezer, check it in the oven.
Tapas, I love that.
Yeah, I love that. There's on the website, there's a that parents shared with us their kind of easy dinners.
Yeah.
And there's like a little menu on the website, and that was pulled together by parents that had shared, this is what I do on a Monday when I can't face it because I've got swimming and I've got to pull this around. So maybe have a look at that. But yeah, just go small. Don't be hard on yourself. I've written down before we came on, think small, not big, when it comes to self-care and gaining that time. Don't think I need to fit in the big spot. I mean, lovely if you can get it, but most of us can't, but think small. What small things can I do? For me, one of the biggest things and shifts that's changed, which sounds so silly, but I'm going to say it, is just nasal breathing. You know how mad I am on it, but it's honestly changed so much for me because it's helped me to acknowledge that actually the biggest act of self-care I can take is to just stop every hour and think about my breath and what's going on for me, and just take some, not deep breaths, just some mindful breaths in and out through my nose. And that honestly has made such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, I cannot go a day without stepping outside into either the garden or going for a short walk. And that, I know it's cliche, but it resets things. It's being present in nature. We're designed to be doing that. I listened to a podcast recently about how much now we are expected to be cognitive all the time, in line with that production. We're cognitive all the time. We're supposed to be 50% cognitive, 50% sensory. At the moment, I'd say I'm operating on 90% cognitive, 10% sensory. So it's trying to readdress that balance, isn't it? And actually, if I can get outside and have a bit of sensory time in an environment where I'm not on in terms of cognition, that's enough to just reset. It doesn't have to be long. Like
and that helps your child.
Minutes.
Don't ever feel selfish for it. We go into schools all the time, don't we? And we say, we're going to talk to you about connecting with these children, emotion coaching with them, co-regulating, setting the tone that you want in that space with them. It has to start with us. So actually, it's more than we're giving you permission. It's actually really essential for your child.
Like you said, they drink from our pool, don't they?
Yeah, but don't use it as another thing to beat yourself up over either. If you feel like I should be doing this and I'm not, we've just got so much pressure on ourselves. Don't use it as a chore. It's not something you're failing at, I suppose I want to say.
On that note, actually, because sometimes it can feel like someone's asking us to do another thing and it's another chore. Even being mindful in what you already do is a helpful thing when it comes to self-care. So making your cup of tea in the morning, or when you get your shower in the morning, just do your nasal breathing if that's what does it for you. Or just notice the feel of the water on your skin, or really sit and have that cup of tea before all the chaos begins. Or if the chaos is already there, step away from it and sit outside and drink your cup of tea. It's tiny little shifts like that. It doesn't need to be a huge event.
Many years ago, I think 6 years ago, do you remember when you did an all day, or it felt like an all day, but not in a bad way? I just connected. An all day work.
Sorry, I apologize.
No, it was really good. It felt, I don't know, just like a really lovely long period of time of connection. And you did a lovely workshop over at the Young Life Centre. Do you remember, with all the crafts?
We did collaging, didn't we?
Emotional health workshop. It was the family emotional health workshop, and we're desperate to do another one of those. But yes, I remember.
I loved it. And we, like, number one, using anything you can find to do some crafty work with your kids. Everybody loves having busy hands, right? And strangely enough, we stop talking more when our hands are busy, and we know that there's science behind that. But Andy Cope was at at the event, and he did this presentation, and he was talking about, I mean, if you haven't heard of Andy Cope, please give him a Google. The Art of Brilliance is just brilliant. And he was speaking about when you wake up in the morning, recognizing the stuff that isn't negative. So looking out the window, I always remember him saying, looking out the window and going, oh, there's not been an apocalypse. Great.
Yeah.
And oh, I'm brushing my teeth. And I found the toothpaste first go. Nobody's used it all.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And my teeth aren't hurting. There's no gum disease.
I've not got toothache. He said, didn't he?
Yeah.
Every day for a year, he woke up, and before he even put his feet on the floor, he said, oh, at least I've not got toothache. I mean, if you've got toothache, then that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But I still bring that into my day. You know, when I'm thinking, oh, I've got all of this ahead of me today, it's so much. But just that, I do often find myself catching and thinking, well, at least I've not got toothache.
Yeah.
Because that would make it a heck of a lot worse.
Absolutely. And I think as well, scheduling downtime in and scheduling the jobs in, because I remember I used to get very manic about the house being untidy. And my mum was very, very neat and tidy, incredibly clean. And I just never felt like I could keep up with those levels for myself. And I would say that we're both spicy on the opposite end, if you know what I mean. And I am, you know, I've got ADHD, I'm nice and chaotic. And but at the same time, I like law and order because that's how I was brought up. But I can't seem to create it for myself. So I would have these manic episodes where I would get absolutely hysterical. They were meltdowns essentially. And Tom, my husband, I remember him saying, what if we booked in every Monday that we would both do the cleaning? Would that make you feel calmer on the weekends when you can see it getting out of control, knowing that come Monday we'll sort it together? It fixed everything. It's such an easy thing to do, but knowing, yes, that's irritating me, but come Monday that'll be sorted. It's okay. And even writing a list that over there rather than going to actually do it because you want to rest. Sometimes that's the way, that's your gateway into the rest, is being able to make those notes, but try not to store them all in your mind because that can be very tiring. So scheduling the downtime, I schedule downtime for my kids over the holidays all the time. And there was, in fact, we cancelled a holiday on half term because I didn't feel the girls were right for it. I thought they were too dysregulated. And whilst you'd think of a holiday as re-regulating, I actually thought it was going to make them worse. And I didn't think, like, Ridley is she goes straight into flight mode. So she's like, no, I'm out of here. And I'm like, I can't take you in a tent for a week and keep you safe. So we cancelled the holiday and postponed it. And the girls were so grateful because they just got to sleep and chill. But I used to feel guilty about that. You look on social media and people are all over the place. They're going all these exotic places. And I'm like, and I thought, no, that's not what my kids need. So I'm giving myself permission to do nothing because we're doing something. We're recuperating, we're resting, we're recovering, and we're getting ready for whatever's coming. And I think having that permission is so, so important. But by giving it to ourselves as well, we're giving it to the kids.
Yeah.
It's modeling.
We feel so guilty for it, don't we? I've definitely been on that journey where I think I should be doing more with the family at weekends, but I haven't got the capacity for that right now. You know, I'm navigating my health journey. I'm navigating everything that comes with running an organisation like Bridge the Gap. I haven't capacity to go out and be social all weekend. And it had got to the point where I would look out the window and I'd be sad if it was sunny because I'd feel guilty because I think, oh, I've got to go and do something today then because it's sunny. And it's taken me a long time to go, it doesn't matter if I want to sit inside because it's sunny, just because everyone else saying, oh, you need to make the most of the outside. Well, actually, I need to go and sit and watch a bit of Netflix and just drink tea and eat my chocolate, actually. So it's blocking out the noise of what everyone else is deciding they need to do and thinking about what's right for you and your family.
That's it. And there is so much noise. When you become a parent, we did a reflective parenting webinar not long ago actually on this, and it was very popular because it's happening with parents all the time, isn't it? There is just an opinion from everybody. Every man and his dog has got an opinion when it comes to how we parent, including us, including us here, sat here at Bridge the Gap. But tuning into what feels right, like Jen said, for your family is what's really important. So reflective parenting, coming full circle, talking about reflection at the start, is where it's at, because you know, we are brought up to do certain things, and social media fuels all of that. Society says this is the way to parent. Society says this is the way to parent. Trust what's right for you and your family and your kids. And sometimes that is stopping, not engaging in the holidays.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
screen time.
Yeah.
Just to add that in, because we can feel guilty if we give our children a screen. Sometimes that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think,
yeah.
oh my gosh, we're not talking about babies to 2 years here, are we? We're talking about, you know, older children, and actually there are some benefits for those children, especially a lot of children will stim using screens, and that really regulates them. But I use screens to regulate, so I'm not going to judge, because like I watched 3 episodes of Love is Blind last night. But I needed to switch off, and you know, I literally shoveled my food down the neck and said to my family, "I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go and sit in there and just watch rubbish."
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna do it, I'm not gonna judge anyone else.
Absolutely. And do you know, Ridley, one of mine, she loves her Switch. And so, but she also works so hard. This year has been a real game changer for her. And she's really changed this year. She's put a lot of effort into her Monday to Friday. And so, who am I to deny her that time to just switch off on the weekend? And on Sunday, just gone, she spent from waking up till about 1 o'clock just in her bed on a Switch. And then she came down and I shouted at her and I said, "Come down a minute. Can I just have a chat with you?" And she went, "I've got such a headache." I said, "Okay, that's all right." I said, "That's you're dehydrated, but also you've been on your Switch all morning. Shall we have a little change of scenery?" She's like, "What do you fancy?" So we made a chocolate pavlova together and a vanilla one. Oh, it was lush. But she loved it because she was getting involved. So again, it's about knowing when enough is enough. We're not saying leave them on there for 12 hours a day.
No.
Enough is enough, and then some engagement so that you're balancing, because you leave your kids on the screens for all day, they do lose the ability to social. And all of a sudden they
And their
start looking with
attention
an
span,
attitude.
their attention span shortens as well then. But like you say, it's you're the adult, you kind of know your child, don't you? Like I'm the same with my daughter. I'm passionate about letting her sleep. Like I will never ever wake her. You know, they say never wake a sleeping baby. I say never wake a sleeping teenager. Let them sleep. But also I'll give her a bit of time when she does wake up, scrolling on TikTok and all that they do. But then I know that there's a limit there before that impacts her mood and what's going to happen for the rest of the day. But I'm still, even though she's about to turn 18, I will go in and I'll say, "Do you need me to take this from you now? I'm thinking we could do this now." And she's at that, because she's had this for her whole existence pretty much. She'll say, "Yeah, actually, you do need to take it from me," because she knows otherwise she hasn't got the ability in that moment to just stop.
Doom scroll.
Yeah,
forever.
So it's nice for her for a bit, but equally me going in and sort of still suggesting maybe now's enough. Enough is enough now.
Absolutely. You know, it makes me think as well that some kids don't like that stuff, right? So say, for instance, now you've got one of each. How, you know, by one of each, what I mean is you've got one who wants to be hyper outside doing stuff all the time. They maybe not of an age where they can do it by themselves. And then you've got one who's like, "No, that's just like the work of the devil. I need to be inside and I need to be doing this and I need to be still." How can parents manage those expectations when they're sort of being pulled in different directions?
It's hard, isn't it? Sorry.
I'd say a little bit of pre-planning is quite good. And again, this is going to require blocking out outside noise. But if you've got one of your children who loves to be outside, loves to be climbing the trees and on all the adventure playground, and you've got one that finds that really difficult, take what they need with them to facilitate that, and block out everyone else's opinion looking at you because your child's got some headphones on, sat under a tree quietly to themselves, whilst your other child is getting what they need with their adventure. Block out the noise and do preparation with them ahead of time. I say, okay, so this is what you're wanting to do over the holidays, and this is what you'll want to do. There's going to be some times where we're going to need to do both of these things. So what does that look like for you? What do you need? And the other thing is having a separate from a screen, but just a relaxation kit. As you know, we love relaxation kits, but having a mini one, you know, so that you can take in the car out on these things. And it might be that there's a pack of stickers in there, a small notebook, a pencil, some sensory items. But having something, so you're still offering them something different to a screen, and you're still kind of trying to get them to move to a different activity, but it feels more contained for them, and they feel more contained in that space.
I think also talking about compromise and educating them on that is really important, because we are a family unit.
Yeah.
All of us have different feelings and thoughts and wishes and desires, etc. And some of those are different. And it's really important to sit down and talk about, well, what are our family values? What is it that you want? And we actually, funnily enough, we did a chat with our kids last night. The older two, obviously not the baby. Baby was in bed. The kids had been on screens for a bit whilst we were putting him to bed, which invariably happens. And then before you know it, it's 9:30, isn't it? And I thought, you know what? These just need 10 minutes with us. So we played a card game until 9:45, and it was so lovely. And during that time, we were having a laugh and a giggle, but we were also talking about, well, what do you want from the summer holidays? What is it that you want to do? Alton Towers, Alton Towers, Alton Towers from one of them.
£100 Alton Towers.
The other one wanted more time inside. So very similar. I've got one of each, really. One wants inside, one wants outside. And we did talk about, well, do you know, we are going to have to compromise and talk about, well, one day maybe we can do Alton Towers. The next day, let's have a nice chill movie day at home. And we'll just chuck on, I don't know, Harry Potter, what have you, one after the other for a bit. And that's great. But also within that, we've got to compromise for Toby as well, who's the baby, and do something for him that works for him. So it's about opening up that conversation and helping them understand in a gentle way.
Having a voice heard though within that.
Because actually you're giving them control and choice within that as well.
Yeah, autonomy is key. If they think they've been involved in those decisions, then they're more likely to get involved. And also, I think letting them know, particularly with the hyper ones, like that would have been me, that it's okay. You don't have to. And again, you're teaching them you don't have to be productive all the time. Productive doesn't mean moving. So I'm mindful of time. We've run over, which I knew we would, because we do this all day. If there's one thing that parents could do to protect their well-being this summer, what would it be? What's your top tip?
Oh gosh, there's so many, but little and often would be my top tip. We've talked about this already, but don't feel like you have to add it in as a chore. You can do that little and often throughout your day, and giving yourself permission for that. So like I said about having a cup of tea, just take a moment for yourself. And that's important to hold on to, that is necessary.
My top tip is identify your support people ahead of time, not for them to do practical stuff, not necessarily for them to come and take your children, but maybe with your friends say, look, this is going to be hard for me. At times, I'm just going to need a space to vent. Could you provide that for me? It might be a voice note. You might not need to answer the phone, but identify your support people who you can offload to when you need to, and just gain that reset from, and have that conversation in your network. So see who can be that for each other, and just know that you've got people who aren't going to judge what you say, that are going to get it, and that you can just say what, even if it is, I hate these kids. They're around me, I'm so overstimulated, but knowing that that's going to land with the right, it's going to be received in the right way.
Yes. Avoid the people who say, well, you chose to have them. So I'll go through a few comments. Gabby on YouTube says she feels really daunted when she thinks about the summer. And I think, again, it's that there's so much expectation. And we talked about, 1950s housewives and how the difference is. And we are the change makers. We're the people who are seeing that change. Interestingly enough, I did some genealogy. I'll make this quick. And I noticed that all the women on both sides of my family have always worked. And one particular woman was a single mum because her husband had died because of something. I don't know whether it was a war or something, I don't know. And she became this community advocate. And I'm like, whoa, this sounds nice, very familiar. But she also had a full-time nanny. So, it was, I mean, she did very well for herself by the looks of things. But, again, it was never, even though there were women who worked really hard, they weren't doing it on their own. We don't have full-time nannies. That's not something that any of us have unless we've got, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of income. Nobody has that. Well, some people do, celebrities, but there we go. Oh yes, Light Films again says my daughter took the phrase "have a word with yourself" literally, and would actually walk away from this. Was Marnie when she was little. She would, like, we'd be in the middle of something where we're talking to her about, what's just happened, and she's like, I'm just gonna take myself over there and have a word with myself.
She's a legend. Iconic.
She's still the same now. Louise on Facebook says, I give my all 24 hours a day and I feel guilty if I don't, but I do feel so overwhelmed. Yes,
all of us can relate to that, Louise.
Sending so much love to you, Louise.
It's so much pressure, isn't it? All of the time. Give yourself permission to stop.
Yeah.
You can't, you're human.
Louise.
Yeah, please take it.
Yeah.
Please. Love for Louise and everyone who's watching who will likely relate to that comment.
Also, you're showing your age with your hearts because apparently it's like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm ancient, so I'm just going to go with it. You should see the TikToks my daughter tries to get me to do. I've realised now it's basically taking.
Oh no, it's not that.
Old people.
I just realised what it is. Sorry, carry on. I think I did the old version. Is that what you've just done? Like that?
No, it's that. It's the hand.
Like that. But then what do they do now? They do something weird with their fingers. Anyway.
Oh, you guys have got younger kids than me. You'll be more down with it than me.
Sorry, Jen, I interrupted then because I had an you just did it wrong.
No, the TikToks now, I think, basically are trends where you basically take the mick of your old out of your old parents. So I find myself getting engaged in these and I watch it back. I think that's just taking the mick out of me. She's like, yeah, isn't it brilliant? And I'm like, do you know what? Let's laugh at ourselves, guys. Yeah. Let's laugh at ourselves. Let's take the pressure off. And, all that, I always say, like, embrace the cringe.
Yeah.
Embrace it. I am, as old as I am, I act the way I am. I'm not too much.
Yeah.
I am who I am. We just all need to.
I think you need to find fear of time here, but just to finish on, I suppose, I think you need to find something that you really value and live by that. Because if you've not got something that you value in your life that is really important to you, and you've not got that in your life currently, it's going to affect your mental health and your outlook and how you feel. So if you value fun, put some fun into your diary in whatever capacity that looks like, in small, manageable.
Child.
Yeah. If it all feels too much, just strip it back to connection and play.
Yeah, get the water guns out, get some water bombs.
Oh, I love that.
Get a paddling pool. We went camping one year and I was getting really fed up with the heat. It was in Cornwall, it was gorgeous, but it was very hot. And so I turned my tent into a 5-star tent by buying a tiny paddling pool and filling it and just sitting outside, like, because I was fuming that the campsite didn't have a pool because I love water. So I just sat there like that with my feet
in your pool.
I love that.
I respect that. That's it though. It's like not just being a bit silly.
Yeah, just be silly.
Playful. Inject playfulness. Even when they're pushing boundaries, play is king.
Oh, Tom is so good at this. Like when he can see the girls are starting to go a little bit with whatever it is, he turns everything into humor and it just breaks that moment for them and they realize what's important. And I think that's really good. He's better at that than I am.
The bottom line is all these people watching are doing a heck of a lot better than they think they are.
Absolutely. And there's so many comments. I can't go through them all, but I will try my best later to go through them all. But I know the team will pick them up anyway. But, thank you both so much. We could do more of them every week. We love this sort of stuff, don't we?
No, let's do another one.
We could chat together forever and a day. It feels very grounding to come back together like this.
We need to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Come on my podcast.
Yes.
Come on my podcast.
We'll come on your podcast.
Brilliant. Right, that guys, you've all heard that. That is
Confirmation. Sending
See you
lots of
later,
love to
guys.
everybody.
Yes,
And just
absolutely.
whatever happens, there are people out there who can help you if it feels too much this summer. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, reach out. And we've got cuppa and chats running all summer, online, in person. They're all free of charge. If anybody needs to reach out, just ping us a message or comment with cuppa and chat. We'll send you the link and you can come and join us.
Amazing.
Thank you,
Wonderful,
guys.
thank you. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the heat.
Thank you.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye.